warm welcome to TV47 Weekend Edition. Glad that you could join us tonight on the Weekend Edition. Now, so much more lined up for you tonight, including an interview later on celebrating World Mental Health Day. This year's theme is prioritizing mental wellness in workplaces, and this just calls for organizations and employers to create concrete environments where employees are prioritized and are protected in terms of their mental health. That will be coming later on after the highlights.
Tonight, Gachagua's only hope in courts.
Tuna imani kubwa sana na mahakama zetu.
DP Gachagua now says his only hope is the judiciary in his ouster bid. Also tonight, the ground is boiling. Section of Mount Kenya leaders face hostility in the region.
I told him I'm going to struggle because it wasn't in my diary. My diary was committed somewhere else.
As President Ruto defends his decision to skip Embu church service. Plus, in defense of Adani,
this company actually has done very many PPP projects.
Raila Odinga defends Adani Group, JKIA and energy deals. And mental wellness at workplaces termed a silent disaster as world marks mental awareness.
All right, now 22047 is our SMS line. We are live on our social media platforms at TV47KE. That is on Facebook, TV47 Kenya, on YouTube, TV47 News on X at Odida _ send us your feedback. My name is Odida, and our sign language interpreter tonight is Irene Chebiwot. Let's get started. Now, Kenyan athlete Ruth Chepngetich smashed the world record by nearly 2 minutes at the Chicago Marathon on Sunday, winning a time of 2 hours, 9 minutes and 56 seconds. The 30-year-old broke the world record set by Tigist Assefa of Ethiopia in 2 hours, 11 Congratulations, Chepngetich. Now, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is confident that the courts will save him. Gachagua spoke in Embu County today on a day that he used a private chopper and not his usual military one. Josh Ansari now reports.
Sunday morning, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua arrived at St. Mark Teachers Training College grounds, Kigari, Manyata, Embu County, during a church service and the 34th anniversary of the ACK Embu Diocese. Unlike his recent previous travels, the DP arrived in a private chopper and not a military one, as it has been in recent days. Apart from the DP and his spouse, Pastor Dorcas Rigathi, the church barred politicians from addressing the congregation.
Irrespective ya ile tatokea, nataka kuuliza amani katika hii Embu, katika Mlima Kenya, katika Kenya nzima. Sisi tuko na nchi ya Kenya, hatuna nchi nyingine. Lakini yote naendelea, sisi imani yetu ni ya kwamba Ngai aliogeteine.
In his speech, Gachagua said his hope lies in the court, perhaps signaling a lost hope in the Senate that is set to debate its fate on Wednesday and Thursday.
Tuna imani kubwa sana na mahakama zetu. Our judiciary is very professional, and I have no doubt in my mind that our eminent judges will protect and uphold the Constitution, the rule of law, and always make sure that the will of the people is sovereign. Na tukiwa, that is the way a good country runs.
The deputy president further said that he has confidence in the judiciary in adjudicating the matter if it gets there. He said he is certain that the courts will exercise judicial authority and protect and uphold the Constitution and the will of the people.
So watu wa Kenya wako na imani sana, and they have faith that our courts of law will protect and uphold our Constitution, and most importantly, always protect the will of the people, because the people are supreme. Na tukifuata hiyo, we'll have a good country.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has called on Kenyans to remain calm and peaceful irrespective of the outcome of his trial at the Senate, which starts on Wednesday. While commending 44 members of parliament who voted against the impeachment motion, the DP encouraged leaders to listen to the people.
In a troubled day, or in the days of trouble, when the waves are hitting against a nation, I urge you to have faith.
Only members of parliament who voted against his ouster accompanied him, led by the host MP Gitonga Mukunji, Embu Member of Parliament Pamela Njoki Njeru, Onesmus Ngogoyo of Kajiado North, James Gakuya of Embakasi North, George Koimburi of Juja, Kirinyaga Senator Kamau Murango, MCS, and former Laikipia County Member of Parliament Kate Warogoro. The deputy president also appealed to Kenyans to pray for him and the country over the heightened political tensions after members of parliament voted to impeach him last week. Joash Onsare, TV 47.
Right, President William Ruto has defended his decision to cancel his tour of Embu County for a church service that Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was scheduled to attend at ACK Embu Diocese. Now, this comes as senators prepare to prosecute his impeachment motion on Wednesday and Thursday next week. But even then, a section of leaders from the Mount Kenya region have been booed, jeered, and others chased out of entertainment joints, as George Maringa reports.
After defending himself before the National Assembly last week, and a day after he was spotted at a mall in Karen, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua set coordinates to Mount Kenya East on Sunday. His mission: to attend a church service at the ACK Embu Diocese. It was an event that President William Ruto had been scheduled to attend but cancelled last minute. Instead, the head of state chose to stay in the capital, where he attended the 30th anniversary celebrations of AIC Milimani. The president and his deputy have not shared a public podium for some time since the advent of Gachagua's impeachment motion.
When the senior pastor told me that there had been sent an invitation for this celebration, I told him I'm going to struggle because it wasn't in my diary. My diary was committed somewhere else. I've had to negotiate with people in other places because I didn't want to miss this celebration. Because there is truly something to celebrate about Milimani.
Majority Leader in the National Assembly Kimani Ichung'wah attended a service in his backyard where he delivered a coded message ostensibly to the DP.
Because should you hurt orphans and widows and they cry unto me, I will not cease to hear their prayer. Kwa hivyo hata tukiwa na maofisi kubwa, tukiwa watu wakubwa, ukiwa wewe uko na nguvu hata hapa kwa kijiji, wachunge wajane.
A great deal of legislators from the mountain chose not to attend Sunday church services in their constituencies, a sharp contrast from what has been the norm. They could perhaps be borrowing leaf from events of the last couple of days, where a section of leaders have been on the receiving end from wananchi. On Friday, at the funeral of Bahati MP's brother, Nakuru Governor Susan Kihika was heckled by residents when she read the condolence message from President William Ruto.
Excellency William Ruto, President of the Republic of Kenya. From His Excellency William Ruto, President of the Republic and Commander-in-Chief.
The same treatment was extended to other leaders who tried addressing the mourners.
Serikali ya Rais William Ruto inajitahidi sana kuhakikisha ya kwamba barabara zote hapa Kenya, sana sana zile barabara zimekwama kidogo, tutatengeneza zote, zitakamilika.
Another one who faced the wrath of wananchi was Kinangop Member of Parliament Kwenathuku, who was chased out of an entertainment joint over the weekend. Former Cabinet Secretary turned Economic Advisor Moses Kuria, on the other hand, was jeered at a Mugithi event in Githurai on Saturday evening. Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka, on his part, has weighed on the mountain debate.
By the way, talk about Mount Kenya. Embu is part of Mount Kenya. Embu until recently was the headquarters of Eastern Province. Even now, some of these regional offices are there. So I'm really Mount Kenya, my friend. Okay.
When all is said and done, eyes will be on the Senate, which is scheduled to prosecute and vote on the impeachment motion against Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. George Maringa, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, meanwhile, Anglican Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit has urged senators to take time and interrogate the impeachment motion against Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua carefully. Now, Ole Sapit has appealed to the Senate to exercise neutrality and impartiality as they embark on hearing the impeachment case against Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Now, the impeachment is scheduled, Gachagua is scheduled to appear before the Senate next week for the trial. This is after the National Assembly voted to impeach him with a record 282 MPs supporting the motion. Ole Sapit spoke during the retirement service for the first Bishop of Diocese of Garissa, that is Reverend David Mutisia.
Kile ningesema pia kwa bunge la Seneti ni kwamba wamepewa jukumu kama upper house ya kuangalia kile bunge imefanya, kama ni njia moja yapo ya kucreate ile inaitwa checks and balances. Waangalie kesi hii kwa makini. Na kile mimi ningetaka kuuliza sasa wanasiasa wetu, kwa nini basi tusifungue namna ya kufanyia kila mwanasiasa aliyechaguliwa audit kama vile Gachagua amefanyiwa?
Kenya's candidate for the AUC chairmanship, that is Raila Odinga, has defended the Kenya, Adani, JKIA and power deals. Odinga has said that Adani is a reputable company which has succeeded elsewhere, but his former allies led by Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka are questioning the deal, as Mike Gwongo now reports.
Former Prime Minister and Kenya's AUC candidate Raila Odinga defended the deal, terming Adani company as a reputable company. Odinga saying that the nation will gain in a big way from the planned lease.
That this is a reputable company, in my knowledge. This company actually has done very many PPP projects. I mentioned that we visited India, the invitation of then Chief Minister of State of Gujarat, Narendra Modi, and he introduced us to several Indian conglomerates.
Speaking in Mombasa Sunday, the ODM party leader stated that public-private partnerships PPP were necessary due to Kenya's financial crisis.
The interest of protecting the principle and framework of PPPs and potential investors, we have a responsibility to ensure our processes are transparent, cost-effective, and accord equal opportunity to all who would be investors in line with the PPP's Act.
Further demonstrating what the Adani Group was capable of given the correct conditions, Raila mentioned a number of projects in Mutai and Gujarat in India. Raila revealed the Adani Group's interest in investing in Kenya dated back to 2010, but was hindered by the lack of a suitable legal framework for public-private partnerships, citing a prior discussion with Indian government officials.
Otherwise, you're likely to try to condemn very reputable companies, as you will see stories like Adani did. Adani company conglomerate is worth over $200 billion. It cannot be an Adani did. Deal with the issues as they are. If some people have made mistakes, let them own up that they made some mistakes. But do not begin to condemn innocent companies who are basically doing normal commercial transactions.
This as Azimio la Umoja leader Kalonzo Musyoka announced plans to file a lawsuit next week to stop President William Ruto's government from awarding the deal to Adani Group.
In the case of the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, JKIA, this is a $236 billion 30-year deal, allegedly to upgrade the airport, which we have challenged in court.
The deal, according to Cabinet Secretary for Energy and Petroleum Opiyo Mutai, is to address Kenya's frequent power outages and guarantee more dependable access to electricity in order to support the nation's expanding economy and industrial goals. The agreement calls for the development of Kenya's busiest airport, Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, JKIA, as well as the installation of power transmission lines. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, senators will on Monday and Tuesday debate the impeachment motion against Kericho Governor Dr. Eric Mutai. Governor Mutai will also have a chance to defend himself after 31 members of the County Assembly of Kericho impeached him, accusing him of gross misconduct and indecent behavior. Stanley Nyaringita now reports.
Armed with at least 24 sets of evidence, ranging from video clips, affidavits, as well as a report from the Auditor General, Kericho County Assembly Monday afternoon is expected to put the final nail in the coffin of the motion to impeach County Governor Dr. Eric Mutai at the Senate. The council representing the 31 MCAs, led by lawyer Kimutai Bosek, will have 3 hours to explain to the senators how in different occasions the governor has grossly violated not only the national but also the county laws, abused his office by illegally appointing High Court Judge Alice Bett as the county attorney, a case which was ruled as irregular by Lady Justice Wasilwa. The plenary will also hear how on his second day after being sworn in, Dr. Mutai led a mob to invade Josiah Kogu's land and tore the fence, as well as painting Kapkatet Ward MCA Amos Birir in a negative light by describing him, and I quote, mentally blind and stupid.
Sisi tuliweza kuketi chini na tuliweza kuorodhesha yale makosa yaliweza kutokea, na hivyo ndio iweze kueleweka kwamba ule mwenye atakuja hapo baadaye kama yeye atarudi, ama pia niko na confidence kwamba kule bunge wataweza ku support yale mapendekezo yetu.
The 31 MCAs who voted in favour of the motion accused Governor Mutai of masterminding the loss of 9 million Kenyan shillings that was raised for the victims of the Londiani Junction accident that happened on the 30th of June last year.
On proponents to carry the works, Mr. Speaker,
the first-time governor will on Tuesday have a similar 3 hours to plead his case with Katwa Kigan as the lead counsel. However, MCAs opposed to the motion who spoke to TV47 say the motion doesn't meet a threshold of 2/3 as required by law.
The law protects Governor Mutai and any other officer in this country. So that is why that requirement of 2/3 threshold must be met. So the Senate must do their work for posterity. They should not be, the Senate should not be used to settle some political scores.
All eyes are now on the Senate as it is expected to hear a motion familiar to it after previously hearing impeachment motions against 9 governors and 3 deputy governors. Stanley Nyeringita, TV47.
Now on to matters health. President William Ruto now says that the rollout of the universal health coverage this month will ensure that all Kenyans can access medical care. Speaking at the African Inland Church Milimani, President Ruto said that the government has already registered 12.8 million Kenyans under the new Social Health Authority SHA, as Quinto Wafula reports.
In a church service Sunday morning, President William Ruto emphasized that the rollout of universal health coverage at the beginning of the month will ensure that the government provides medical care to all Kenyans.
Even as we roll out our universal health coverage program, I want to thank faith-based institutions that run hospitals in Kenya for stepping forward and partnering with us.
The president said the government has already registered 12.8 million people under the new Social Health Authority, aliasly known as SHA.
For the first time, every Kenyan will have a health insurance. For the first time.
His statement comes after majority of the patients claim that they have not been receiving treatment in various medical centers since they are asked to foot their bills in cash.
Under the new UHC program, because it is our intention to make sure that no Kenyan is left behind on matters health.
Worst hit are patients with renal problems, especially those seeking dialysis on a weekly basis, as they are told to pay cash in various hospitals.
Implementing some of the transformational changes to change our nation requires prayers.
According to the Ministry of Health, over 12 million Kenyans have registered to the Social Health Authority. The government further says that 1,442 hospitals have signed contracts as of Sunday. The government, however, said that all public hospitals, level 2 to level 6, have been contracted and are now offering services to the SHA-registered beneficiaries.
Now, for 2 weeks now, inter-clan clashes in Tana River have claimed lives of 14 people. 2 local leaders led by Governor Adado Godana were arrested, while 5 more have been summoned by the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC, tomorrow. TV47's Mohammed Noor spoke to the families that have now been forced to seek refuge in temporary camps in Garissa and filed this report.
For 2 weeks now, at least 14 people have been killed in Tana River County clashes. The clashes have also left several others displaced and have to seek temporary refuge at these camps. Samira Abubakar, a mother of 3, is now living with her family in this camp at Bakuyu with her children. School-going kids have been forced out of school.
Tukaanguka kwa maji na watoto mpaka tukatoka na mahali nyeta hatuijui. Ni mahali tumetoroka tu kwa watu wetu kujisaidia. Mahali ya kulala ni shida, tunakaa kwa nyumba ya hema, hakuna mahali ya kukaa. Nguo ya kuvaa yenyewe ni kujirani wametusaidia tunavaa. Shida ya maji, tunaishi maisha ya shida. Watoto shule zimewaharibikia, hawapati kwenda shule.
Wenye wanaumia sana ni kina mama na watoto. Tuko na kijiji hapa jirani yetu, nyumba zimechoma, manyumba zote zimechoma, zingine zimeibiwa. Wamama tumechukua watoto na mama tumaleta hapa.
To them, even a meal is a problem. 8 kilometers from Bakuyu is Bularahma. The displaced locals have now been forced to seek shelter in these camps after their houses were burnt down. They are now worried that their children may miss the upcoming national exams.
Vitu mwenyewe zimeenda. Mimi nimekimbia, nimeponea chupu na mtoto wangu. Wengine hata siwajui wako wapi. Nikakimbia nikakuja hapa nyumbani, hata sina vitu, ninakaa tu. Naomba serikali, hebu waangalie watu maslahi yetu, mahali ambao sisi tutaweza kukaa ni wapi.
Tunakubali amani. Mpaka kijiji ya kwanza ilikubali wailwano wakuje hapa, wazee wao kukubali amani ilikuwa ni sisi. Tulipoenda sisi Vango karibu tutwangwe.
Tana River Governor Godhana Dado and Galole MP Hirbai Said Buya were arrested on Saturday by detectives from DCI in connection to interclan clashes in the region. NCIC has summoned 5 politicians from the county in relation to the clashes. They include Amina Dika Abdullahi, the Tana River women representative, Rehema Hassan, the former women representative, Bura MP Yakubado Kuno, Galole MP Hirbai Said Buya, and Jibril Mahmoud Farah, Bangal Ward MCA. They are set to be grilled on Monday. Muhammad Nur Yusuf, TV47.
All right, now how well does your employer take into consideration your mental health, or better still, how well do you take care of the mental well-being of your employees? This is the conversation that is shaping this year's World Mental Health Day celebration that was celebrated this week. The focus is now on how work environments are contributing to mental health challenges, as I filed in this story. It is estimated that 1 in 10 people in Kenya suffer from a mental illness. While these numbers speak to a broader societal issue, the workplace is where this mental health crisis hits the hardest.
How we manage the 8 hours in a day that we are working is important. The second reason, which is perhaps even more important, is that whatever happens to you in the workplace, you take it home. All right? And when you take adverse experiences at the workplace to the house, then it will affect very confused children or partners who will start wondering what's wrong with this woman, what's wrong with this man.
For many, the pressures of work have compounded an already fragile state of mental well-being, transforming workplaces from spaces of productivity into breeding grounds for stress, anxiety and depression.
The Task Force on Mental Health 2020 in Kenya underscored the critical role of workforce factors in contributing to mental health challenges among the Kenyan population. This highlights the urgent need for workplace to prioritize mental health, in the workplace.
That is the case of Jackson Kuria, a police officer famously known as Cop Shakur, recently transferred to a hardship area following what he terms as his participation in the 2024 Gen Z anti-finance bill protest.
Nilikuwa pictured nikishika placard, and then I went to parliament to protest zile life za wasenye zililusia during the protest. Na hizo ni vitu tu zinani affect mimi as a normal Kenyan. Still, apart from being a cop, I'm still a Kenyan. And I know it's not right for someone to kill someone who is protesting na yuko harm mtu yoyote. So for me kufanya hivyo ndio kafanya wakani transfer to an area that haina hata internet, so that I cannot speak.
His decision to stand up for the rights of the fallen turned him into a target, not just for the authorities but within his own workplace. He describes this as being treated as a black sheep, where he returned to work after being interdicted from duty only to find himself in a hostile environment.
When you pay permission, for example, mimi sijaenda leave for the past 2 years. So even they can't give me a day off. So that's happening. Anyway, I was preparing for this, and hata nimeanza process ya try to resign.
The silent crisis has been brewing in the country, one that has remained largely unnoticed until it could no longer be ignored. The issues of mental health in the workplace is no longer something that can be swept under the rug. It is now at the forefront of public discourse, ignited by the unsettling reality that Kenyan workplaces could increasingly becoming enablers of mental health challenges.
Section 190 on violence and harassment directly addresses one of the workplace known risk factors that are known to worsen mental health issues. Remember that the workplace can be a stressor, but at the same time, it can be an enabler on a patient's well-being.
Shakur was later posted in water terms as an inhospitable location, and every day became an endurance test, from an endurable task to unrelenting mistreatment, 2 years without leave, no days off, and a constant weight of surveillance.
Kuna wasetu walikuwa wamepewa instructions tu wanimistreat, wanipost huko hivyo plus niko, wasinipe permission ya kwenda job, kwenda home. Wanifanyisha tu kazi zenye si poa.
Workplace-related stress is affecting more than just job performance. It's spilling over into personal lives. The line between work and home has blurred to the point where employees are bringing home more than just fatigue. They are carrying unresolved emotional traumas.
Mental health problems, as we know, extend far beyond individuals, as even we have listened to the experiences. It impacts families, communities, and the society at large. It equally affects the socio-economic growth in Kenya, with a loss of almost 0.6% of GDP, as was seen in 2020.
In the recent World Mental Health Day celebrations led by the Ministry of Health at Mutai National Hospital in Nairobi, the focus was clear. Workplaces are a significant contributor to the mental health challenges faced by Kenyans today. In fact, Thursday marked World Mental Health Day with this year's theme, calling for workplaces to prioritize mental wellness.
A significant portion of a person's life is spent in the workplace, and this environment can have a profound impact on their mental well-being. While meaningful work can offer numerous benefits, harmful work conditions can lead to serious mental health issues.
It's a timely conversation, as the mental health crisis in Kenyan workplaces cannot be separated from the broader national conversation about dignity, rights, and the responsibility employers have towards their employees. All right, that story right there will be forming the basis of our conversation tonight, and to the point, and that is prioritizing mental wellness in workplaces, a theme for this year's World Mental Health Day celebrations that was celebrated this Thursday on the 10th of October. Our guests are already in studio. We already have Victoria Rika, that is Head of Corporate Mental Health and Wellness Programs at Chiromo Hospital Group, and Sophie Wambui, a clinical psychologist. We will be coming back with that conversation after this break. Stay tuned.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2. What position were you? Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated, and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child.
than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. You're watching TV47 Weekend Edition. Let's continue with our coverage. Now, Metropolitan Sacco has been in the headlines for the past few years due to the loss of billions occasioned by alleged fraudulent dealings. Now, former top management officials are under scrutiny and some in the dock. Tonight, TV47's Moige William delves beyond the financial loss of over 10 billion shillings, further uncovering the untold suffering of its members. These members are left with only the hope that soon, if not later, they will eventually receive a refund of their lifetime savings deposited in what was once a stable and promising financial institution. And with the push coming to shore, an interim committee selected by SASRA will manage Metropolitan Sacco for the next 3 years with an aim to stabilize the Sacco and recover lost members' deposits.
Kanunga, at the heart of the expansive Kiambu County. It is already midday. At the home of a 68-year-old retiree, she's busy in the kitchen making porridge, the only meal she can afford to offer her visitors. The former kindergarten teacher in the smoky and not well-lit kitchen is done making the fermented maize flour porridge, and the meal for the day is served. Despite working for 30 years to secure comfortable retirement, she now leads a hand-to-mouth life. And for today, her guest will have to be grateful to have been served this cup of porridge. The mother of 6 blames her current misfortune on a financial institution, Metropolitan National Sacco. She agrees to an interview, but insists on concealing her identity.
Ujue watu wale wako na pesa yetu.
The people who have our money are not our friends but enemies. If they get wind that I am coming for my money, they can plan to harm me.
Since her retirement in 2016, the former educator, now turned farmer, depends on small-scale farming for survival. Despite securing her future in her prime, she now lives as a pauper, unable to access the hundreds of thousands of shillings she saved in the Sacco.
It is 8 years since my retirement. My money is still there. 2016 is the last time the Sacco paid in full amount of our dividends. Every year we are called in for meetings. What we keep telling the management is we want a refund of our money.
How did this former county council employee find herself in such a predicament? She admits that the Sacco was one of the best financial institutions in the 90s, attracting a huge number of civil servants, especially from the education sector. It is in 2016 that a dark cloud started forming on the roof of the institution and trouble began. It was during this year when she last received her full dividend paid out at 12% of her savings. And since then, the Metropolitan National Sacco has never been the same.
2018, 2019 up to date, we have not received any amount of our money.
Her claims are supported by Agustino Ching, the head teacher Kiambu Hillcrest Academy.
Teaching is a passion. The way you interact.
Oching, a member of the Sacco since 2011, says that financial help from Metropolitan Sacco enabled him to complete his bachelor's degree at the University of Nairobi.
2018, that is when we started seeing some hitches. I started experiencing some hitches with the Sacco because I found out that at that point, you find that there was a problem with the cash flow within the Sacco. So at that point, you go there and then you cannot be in a position to get given amount of money. And then you are given some reasons that seemed not to be pleasing.
However, the Sacco's situation worsened over the years.
If you applied for a loan of 500,000 shillings, you can't get the whole amount. It will be issued in installments.
For example, you have 20,000 within your account. Then you cannot be in a position, be given the whole amount of 20,000 that you required. You are given 5,000 only, and that 5,000 also getting was a bit problematic.
Anytime I visited the branch to get my money, the manager would call me in and he would issue me with 20,000 or 30,000 shillings.
It is crucial to note these words, as they are key to uncovering how unscrupulous individuals siphon money from the Sacco. Data from the Sacco Society's Regulatory Authority, SASRA, reveals a substantial decline in the total assets of Metropolitan Sacco, dropping from 10.02 billion shillings in 2022 to 1.07 billion shillings in 2023. The sharp decrease is partially attributed to members abandoning the Sacco. An audit report further uncovered a loss of 12 billion shillings. Just what happened to the once thriving savings and credit cooperative?
The story of Metropolitan Sacco reads like fiction, only that the characters involved are real people. In the second installment of this investigative piece, we reveal the other characters, who, unlike Agustin and others who prefer to remain anonymous, could be smiling all the way to the bank after collapsing another bank.
Metropolitan Sacco has been making headlines in recent years due to the loss of billions, allegedly linked to fraudulent dealings.
Now I am old and about to retire. As for my money, I don't know how safe it is.
Former top management officials of the Sacco are now under intense scrutiny, with some facing charges in court.
Those who stole from the Sacco are well known.
TV47 has uncovered details through a former employee who requested anonymity for fear of his safety, revealing how billions were allegedly embezzled by former top executives. The siphoning is said to have begun as far back as 2010, raising serious questions about the governance and oversight within the Sacco during that period. The University of Nairobi finance graduate alleges that the Sacco's financial embezzlement began when Metropolitan Sacco hired 2 consultants to run a new member recruitment campaign. During this period, the Sacco also introduced a new loan product called the Premier Loan Product, aimed at attracting more members. This move is suspected to have laid the groundwork for the misappropriation of funds, as irregularities in the disbursement of the loans emerged, suggesting that the product was being used as a cover for fraudulent activities by the former top management officials.
So there were some account opening forms that were dubious, that were erroneous, that were somehow fraudulent from the word go.
The former clerk at the Sacco reveals that even erroneously registered members, who he alleges were not real persons, were offered the loan product. He estimates that nearly 4 billion shillings were lost before the Premier Loan Product was halted in 2017 due to legal issues. Between 2012 and 2019, the former clerk further alleges that certain accounts, particularly those belonging to top managers, were able to perform successful transactions despite having insufficient balance. This was reportedly facilitated by individuals in the IT department. It is alleged that when the overdraft on an account reached millions of shillings, the debt will be written off and the transaction history erased, effectively making the money disappear without a trace.
Overdrawing of accounts was done at the branch level, whereby a cashier will be commanded, give me 250,000 Kenya shillings. This money, they could post now the debit and the credit. You know, you have to debit this and credit this. Now they debit to your account, okay? But now the crediting part isn't there. So now you take the cash, but in your account you'll see minus maybe the 100,000. Then they do that tomorrow, the other day.
Remember the claims by the two Sacco members who, when they wanted to withdraw money, they will receive it in batches instead of the full amount requested? According to this former employee who left the institution in 2021, in the period between 2015 and 2017, officials became even more crafty. When money was remitted to the Sacco's account, instead of being allocated to loans and refunds, some of the funds were diverted to several staff accounts. The money will then be withdrawn in cash and allegedly delivered to the account's office, creating a complex web of fraudulent transactions designed to siphon off large sums without detection.
The ATMs used to work only during salary disbursement.
The turmoil surrounding Metropolitan Sacco is not an isolated incident, despite the Sacco Supervision's report of 2023 by the Sacco Societies Regulatory Authority, SASRA, showcasing a thriving sector with over R1 trillion shillings in savings and membership growth to 6.84 million across 357 regulated SACCOs. The number of complaints has surged. In 2023 alone, complaints rose to 715, indicating a growing discontent among members. In a bid to address these challenges, Cabinet Secretary for Cooperatives Wycliffe Oparanya has announced plans to strengthen SACCO's regulatory framework through a cooperatives bill and amendments to existing legislation.
And it's unfortunate that that SACCO has lost billions. It's unfortunate they lost. And that's why we are coming up with some of the strict regulations.
As for the disgruntled former members of Metropolitan National Sacco, the Commissioner of Cooperatives has revealed that the government is exploring all possible ways to recover the lost funds, with some individuals already arraigned in court.
We are pursuing the matter in court, but as well we are also liaising with other government agencies to see that we are able to, to do some investigations and to find out anybody who is culpable, either in terms of corruption or something related to that, so that also we can take it up. But also, we want to see that we are able to recover the money.
This, as financial experts now raise alarm over the trend.
We need to ask ourselves, are SACCOs focused? Are they focused on the future? Is there any growth? Do they have any business plan? Do they have a vision? Is there a place they want to go?
With figures indicating SACCOs play a vital role to a majority of Kenyans seeking financial needs, its prominence is slowly dwindling due to an increase of alleged mismanagement and misappropriation of hard-earned contributions of its members. The situation being as is, the government defending its move were in a raft of proposed amendments to the current legislation and a new cooperative bill that is said to be a stringent measure in a move to safeguard SACCO operations. Mwege William, TV47.
Thank you so much, Mwege William, for that report. Very saddening indeed. Now, the Northeastern Parliamentary Group has concluded a 3-day conference that brought together members of parliament and key professionals from Wajir, Garissa and Mandera counties. They aimed at building a unified approach among the region's leaders to address long-standing challenges that have affected the region for decades. And as Andrein Kilemi now reports, the conference resulted in key resolutions, among them a call for comprehensive audit of the national government's revenue share, ensuring Northeastern receives its fair portion of national funds.
Members of Parliament drawn from Mandera, Wajir and Garissa counties under the Northeastern Parliamentary Group are now calling on the national government to consider equitable sharing of resources and national positions, claiming that the region has been left behind.
Tunataka ile ubaguzi wa mikoa ambayo ilikuweko wakati wa ukoloni, ikaja na ile sessional paper number 10 wakati serikali tulipata uhuru, na ikawa imeendelea mpaka leo. Leo iwe ni kikomo. Manake mimi pale nimetoka ambaye ni constituency headquarters ama eneo bunge ya Dadaab. Na ni Dadaab hakuna lami. Na hivyo ndio ilivyo karibu kila mahali. National Grid sisi kama kwetu ni kama ile kitu watoto wanasoma kwenye magazeti, hatujaona.
We want the development needs of our people to be no longer an electioneering campaign platform.
The conference, aimed to address the long-standing challenges facing the region, resulted in key resolutions. Among them, a call for a comprehensive audit of the national government's revenue share. Other resolutions included increased investment in the livestock sector, access to water through dam construction, expanding renewable energy projects, and advocating for comprehensive medical insurance for all northeastern residents.
The region faces huge shortcomings in human capital development, with over 200,000 children out of school. 800, I'm corrected, 850,000 out of school. That's why we are missing up on capitation. We want the government to institute a program to increase enrollment, to bring back the children who are affected by floods and drought and who have left schools, and school boarding programs to be fully funded by the national government.
The group also stressed on the importance of tackling insecurity and violent extremism, which have severely hindered developments in the region. Andrine Kilemi, TV47.
Thank you, Andrine Kilemi, for that. Now, Nairobi County government has officially announced that Uhuru Park is now opened for all. Take a look.
Uhuru Park is one of the 7 major public spaces in Nairobi County. This park was closed temporarily early August this year following the anti-government Gen Z's protest, which resorted to extensive destruction and vandalization of property at the park.
So this is wreckage that we have managed to clear, and now we are now making arrangements now to bring back these food retail areas now, so at least they can be able to support the public when they come here to enjoy themselves.
The government was able to clear the wreckage at this 32-acre recreational park and opened it on 28 September this year for the public to experience and explore the scenic beauty of this park.
So Uhuru Park is open and it's accessible to all members of the public. It's also accessible to all visitors, whether those who live within Nairobi or even outside Nairobi, and even international visitors. We have hosted several delegations here coming from other countries, and we also host events.
For now, you will only require your national identification card to access the park. Additionally, the renovation of Central Park is underway, with the national government and contractors expected to complete and hand over the park in December 2024.
Freedom at last, as Uhuru Park is open for the public. Anastasia Mkabi, TV47.
Sports News brought to you.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips,
And the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwa watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
right, welcome back to the broadcast. You're watching TV47 Weekend Edition. It's time for To The Point, and as you can see on your screen, we are talking about Mental Health Awareness Month. Our conversation tonight is based on this year's theme, which says it is time to prioritize mental health at the workplace. This is according to WHO. And I want us to take a look at why WHO says this is important, if we can have that displayed on the screen as well. Now, WHO says that workers have a right to a work environment that promotes their mental health and well-being, aligning with the broader principles of occupational health and safety. The WHO also outlines a practical framework for governments, employers, and health service planners to implement strategies that prevent work-related mental health issues, support mental well-being, and assist those affected by mental health conditions. According to WHO as well, poor mental health at work can lead to decreased productivity, increased absenteeism, and higher healthcare costs. Conversely, promoting mental health can enhance employee engagement, retention, and overall workplace morale. And finally, as to why this theme is important, according to WHO, is that it emphasizes collaboration among all stakeholders, including government bodies, employers, and civil society, to create a supportive environment for mental health initiatives in the workplaces. Now, like I had mentioned earlier, guests are already with me in studio. Just right next to me is Sophie Wambui, a clinical psychologist. And right next to Sophie is Victoria Rika, head of corporate mental health and wellness programs at the Chiromo Hospital Groups. This is an all-lady panel today. Karibuni sana, ladies. You look lovely.
Thank you.
Now, just to start us off, why do you think this year's theme is quite important? Now that you work in the corporate field, Rika, let's start with you.
Well, the theme for this year being prioritizing mental health at the workplace is quite important. Where I work, for example, at Chiromo Hospital Group, it's a level 5 mental health facility, meaning that it's high pressure environment because we deal with mental health patients. Well, we all have mental health, but we deal with patients who are struggling with mental illnesses, right? So if you do not prioritize the wellness of the people working there, then you may end up having them as statistics as well. So we have attempted, or rather we have succeeded. Actually, we are, I would say, very far in terms of trying to prioritize the wellness of the workers who work within our organization. How do we do that? For example, we have what we call employee assistance program. Now, this is an employer-based initiative which takes care of employees who may be struggling with any issues which are hindering their productivity within the work environment, which means then we cannot talk about the productivity of the work environment if we do not, first of all, define what mental health is. And again, from the World Health Organization, it's simply a state of well-being, state because it can change, whereby you only look at 4 parameters. Number 1, you're able to realize your full potential, your full abilities. Number 2, you're able to cope with the normal stresses of life. 3, you're able to be productive and fruitful within the work environment, wherever it is that you have in a call of duty. And then 4, you're able to make a contribution to the community. So if you're not able to meet those 4 parameters, then we see already your mental health is compromised. So if an employee is struggling with something, it could be they've gone through maybe loss and grief. They could be having a chronic illness which they are struggling with. And of course, it's hampering their productivity within the work environment. So we have in place what we call employee assistance program, which then now takes care of that employee by referring them to resources such as psychologists to help them to process whatever it is that they're experiencing, so that they recover and they're able to come back to the work environment and be productive.
This employer assistant program, is it only at your organization, or do we have organizations that have such programs?
We do have organizations that have those kind of programs, quite a number of them. And we do also, as Chiromo, run EAPs for other corporates. So they come to us and tell us that this is our workforce, these are the issues that we are struggling with, and we want you to take care of our employee issues. So we run their EAP programs, but there are others that already have internal EAP programs. So you can actually have an internal EAP program, you can outsource, or you can do hybrid. So you outsource, and at some point you also do what? Run the internal program.
All right, Sophie, what does it mean to prioritize mental wellness in workplace?
Well, as Victoria has mentioned, we've said it's a state of well-being where you have to consider whether this individual is able to reach their potential abilities, whether they are able to give back to their community, as well as being able to cope with the normal stresses in life. So remember, we work for probably 8 hours in an organization. That is where we spend most of our time in that organization. So we need to prioritize so that we can fit in what has just been described as a state of well-being. So that's why we are supposed to prioritize mental wellness in our organizations. Basically, is to make sure this employee, is he able to identify his abilities? Is this employee able to go back to their community and be able to give back? You know, that is going back to their families, to their relatives, to, I mean, the social life. And also, are they able to cope with the normal stress life? If in that organization does not give them that environment to be that whole individual, then we will not be prioritizing. So that's why it's important to prioritize mental health or well-being in the organizations. We have to, because that person will still go back to the society. Yeah.
Now, before we started this conversation, there was a light moment here in studio. Mental health near wenda wazimu, right? Now, if you're still talking about mental health being for the wenda wazimu, it means that there's quite a bit of stigma. But we're in 2024, so haven't we made any strides in trying to fill these gaps in terms of informing the public about mental health? Sophia?
All right. I remember there's someone, when we started creating awareness on mental health, and I remember someone said, that kind of information is for the whites. I mean, they feel like it's not meant for the Africans, which is a very backward way of thinking, I will say. But I've also seen a huge contribution being done by psychologists, counselors. People are coming up with seminars so that they can create information. So we are heading there, but there is still a lot of work to be done because we realize even for the young people, we still have the information gap in regards to what mental health is. So I feel like we still need to do a lot, but I don't want to discredit the work that is being done by the counselors and the psychologists, the seminars that having seminars, workshops. We have all those seminars that are addressing mental health. Basically, they are trying to create mental health awareness, but there's a lot of work to be done. Maybe Victoria can add on that.
Haven't we done enough as a country to try and just eradicate stigma around mental health at all?
We've done quite a lot, but there's also the issue of self-stigma, which is actually now more damaging than stigma from the public. Social stigma or public stigma is you have HIV/AIDS, so I don't want your company. But self-stigma is I have HIV/AIDS, so I'm not able to relate to other people because what will they think about me? So if we are able to help people to go beyond the self-stigma, then social stigma becomes, less, right? But we have made a lot of inroads. Mental health issues are not what they were 3-5 years ago, right? Because there's so much awareness being created by the public. Not only mental health facilities, but also organizations are now having mental health sessions. And COVID really did a number where mental health is concerned. People suddenly realized we need to have this mental health awareness. Why? Because COVID really impacted on people. And they were wondering what's happening to me, what are these symptoms all about? And organizations which had people who were serving in terms of mental health awareness were able to get to mental health professionals. And the stigma is slowly going down. My boss, Dr. Frank Jenga, who you've just shown on the screen, said, if you're still stigmatizing, you're actually on your own. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take a look at WHO recommendations in slide 3, if we can have that. Now, WHO recommends manager training for mental health, which helps managers recognize and respond to supervisees experiencing emotional distress. It builds interpersonal skills like open communication and active listening, and fosters better understanding of how job stresses affect mental health and can be managed. Now, we have instances, let's just stick there for a bit. We have instances where an employee maybe tells the supervisor or the boss that I'm feeling some type of way, I feel mentally fatigued. I don't know if that word is being misused, but you can find that an employee could tell the boss, I'm feeling mentally fatigued. But the supervisors sometimes don't take this with the seriousness it deserves. Now, what can we do as a concerted effort to ensure that this employer is really catering to the employee in terms of kuelewa, huyu anasikia hivi ni mgonjwa, let's tend to him or her. How do we get to that point?
Basically, we've just mentioned about the employee assistance programs. And if you look at some of these programs, they usually categorize trainings in different groups. That is, if we have the top level management, the supervisors, and later the employees. So during the training, they are not trained together. So if at all we can embrace trainings on mental health, like if it is the supervisors, they have their specific day, or they have their specific information on how to address how to handle the people who are under them. For instance, we can just have trainings on the common symptoms or the common mental disorders, like we have the depression, we have anxiety. We can also talk about burnout, stress. If they can have training just on the basic, like you don't really have to be a counselor to do this, but if these managers or supervisors can be trained on just the basic or the common mental illnesses, then I think we'll be good. They will be in a position to embrace other people. Yes, so I feel training will work, and also we need to appreciate or embrace the employee assistance programs. At workplaces.
All right, Rick, I know you've
in the workplaces. It's by showing them the statistics. And we say it is a top to bottom approach. If the management does not own the whole story of mental health within the workplace, it would be a non-starter. But if you show them the statistics, for example, World Health Organization says that globally, depression and anxiety costs what? A whole $1 trillion.
Correct.
Right? They project that by 2030, it will shoot up to $16 trillion. But if you tell the employers, if you invest $1 for the management of depression and anxiety, you'll get a return of $4 on better ability to work and better mental health. So if you show them those statistics, they know then that there's a return on investment when you invest in mental health. So try to get the top people to own it, try to get them to role model, because there's no use of having an employee assistance program which the management is not using. Then what does it turn into? It turns into a disciplinary kind of a concept. Because now HR sends you there when you are absent too many times, or when you're asking for too many absences, then HR is sending you there to show cause. But if you get management to understand that I could need a mental day off, and especially the Gen Zs, they're very easy on asking about their mental health.
Right.
I need a mental health break. But we people who are still stuck a little bit in terms of talking about our mental health are the ones who are suffering. So it's also about creating that awareness, not only to the employers, but also the employees, that you actually have a right. As per the Mental Health Act, you actually have a right to perfect optimum mental health, and the workplace must be enabling. So let them also create what we call a psychologically safe space, that the employees are able to talk about things that they're experiencing which can impact on their mental health. And once you get the supervisors, the line managers, the people in management to own that, then it becomes easy.
The story that we just played that formed the basis of this conversation today, Kop Shakur is saying he is on the verge of, what did he say? There's a word he used, resigning. He is on the verge of resigning. Now, for someone to get to that level, he's at work currently, but his mind is on resigning. How can he be helped? Because literally his mental health is deteriorating day by day. Sophie.
You see, at his point, and maybe that's where sometimes employees sometimes go wrong, is where we do self-diagnosis, where you come up with your own, you Google and get your own condition, yeah? But maybe for his situation, before even he resigns, because sometimes you may be pushed, most of the times especially when you are suffering from burnout, you may feel like you resent your job, you will really want to resign, but what if he decides to give a professional a chance? And sometimes we are afraid of seeking professional help. What if he seeks a professional help and maybe he is able to address the burnout or whatever he's going through, or he gets a proper diagnosis of what he's going through, and once he gets the treatment, basically he'll definitely go back. But I feel he should talk to a professional. Yes.
Rika, what do you think of Cop Shakur's case at this point? Because he's complaining, the police force, they don't have unions, they work on orders. There's a lot going on in the police force, according to Cop Shakur. Now for them, what can be done?
I think I concur with what Sophie is saying, that maybe resigning may not be there. I don't know, the right decision, we can put it like that right now, but we also don't know the circumstances. And when you don't really know the whole story about a client, it's usually not very easy to make, to come to a conclusion. But really, when someone is coming to a point where I want to resign because I'm having a really hard time at the work environment, I would want to understand what resources have I looked at? Because, for example, at the facility where I work, we see very many policemen who come there because someone is probably in a hardship area, someone is going through financial challenges, someone is going through alcoholism. They come and they get the help that they require because there is an avenue to that. So I don't know, I would want to understand, has he explored that avenue? And then again, it also comes to a point where if you feel you're completely self-aware and feel that this environment is really, really torturing my mental health, and you have a place where you can go to, because remember, you also have bills to pay. And you might actually be leaving that job and getting into a deeper quagmire. Because we don't know, is it depression which is pushing him to a place where he wants to resign? Because the symptoms of depression also are things like, a lot of helplessness, a lot of hopelessness. You feel like nothing is going to work for you. You feel like nothing can help. So has he explored those resources before he resigns? Because it could be depression pushing him to resignation. And once he resigns and has got no way of paying his bills, then the depression may become more pronounced, which may leave him in a very vulnerable place mentally.
All right. We've also talked about a couple of terms, which I would love for you guys to try and expound on. You've talked about burnout, we've talked about mental fatigue, stress, and workplace anxiety. Now, kindly tell us, how do they differ, these four?
All right, maybe I can talk on burnout.
Yes.
You see, when you are exposed to chronic stress, it's completely different with stress. So when you are exposed to chronic stress all the time, your body gets exhausted.
What is chronic stress? How does it feel like?
Okay, well, chronic is continuous from the work demands, workload, pressure. I mean, there is no break for you. Ideally, the body should have that moment where it can bounce back to its normal state. That is when you're a bit stressed. Like, you see, like for now, you're breathing well, your digestive system is okay. But when you experience a life stressor, definitely you either your body just goes maybe into a fight or a flight mode, So how well are you able to go back to your normal state? So that is what we talk about stress. But now the burnout is where you have so many life stressors or things that are getting you out of balance continuously, persistently, Yeah, so you get to a point where you're emotionally exhausted, psychologically and also physically. So sometimes, especially for people who are working and they are experiencing burnout, you find people who get detached with their work, like they resent the work that they are doing. Probably someone loved their jobs when they started, but 3 months down the line, they are completely detached from their work. They really even have, like, they don't want to wake up and go to work, and also you find they have a negative attitude towards their colleagues. Like they start thinking, these people, I can't even trust these people, and before probably they were working so well. So burnout it's really exhausting. Emotionally, you get very tired. You can have anger outbursts, probably you are just okay 1 month down the line and you are shouting at people, Yeah, and then physically also, burnout affects emotionally, psychologically, and physically. On physically, you may feel like maybe you have back pains, you could have headaches, So it's always important to check, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Rika, is this really same as work anxiety, burnout and work anxiety? Are they one and the same?
No, I think Sophia has explained properly what burnout is.
Yes.
It's accumulated stress, you know, a lot of stress. And when you get burnt out, you really don't care who is asking for what project or for what report. Say, even if it's your boss, you really don't care. You're that burnt out. You just want to detach completely. But now, you've asked about work anxiety.
Right.
You know, anxiety is different. We have what we call generalized anxiety, for example. We have what we call social anxiety. And anxiety disorders, we have quite a number of them. But for example, if you have social anxiety, it means that you have a problem with being in crowds, with being with people. You don't feel like you want to go out for those weddings, for those meetings, for those birthday parties. You'd rather be alienated from people, right? But you could also have what we call generalized anxiety. Basically, anything or nothing makes you just anxious. And you have those symptoms. You feel like, for example, you're told to do for example, a session by your boss, you're told to do a report in front of your colleagues, and you have heart palpitations, you start trembling, you're sweating, suddenly you want to use the bathroom, your stomach, you know, and all that, then would say you have some sort of anxiety. So they're quite different in the way they manifest themselves. Yeah.
I want us to take a look now at the national guidelines on workplace mental wellness that is in slide 4 in Nonde. We have employee and employer responsibilities, where employers are required to create supportive work environments that provide access to mental health resources. We've talked about that. Employees are encouraged to practice self-care, build coping skills, and seek social support when needed. We have mental health integration, where the Ministry of Health says mental wellness has been integrated into the country's broader universal health coverage goals. And mental health in the workplace has been prioritized in recent years, aligning with international standards for employee well-being. We have mental health conditions in the workforce, where approximately 3.7 million Kenyans in the workforce struggle with conditions such as anxiety, depression, substance abuse, schizophrenia, and bipolar disorders. All right, now the guideline highlights it advocates for a comprehensive approach that includes promotion, prevention, and support of mental health. They emphasize the importance of reducing stigma and fostering open conversations about mental wellness at work. The guidelines have specific provisions for high-risk professions, such as police officers, recognizing their unique challenges. Now, this point where it talks about high provisions for people such as police officers, for instance. During the World Mental Health Day celebrations on Thursday, there's a guest who mentioned, that was the chairperson, Kenya Board of Mental Health. He said that insurance companies do not cater to people suffering from mental health. Now, how do I get treatment if I'm now suffering from a mental illness and I need to get treated for it? Sophie.
Now, in some of the organizations, there are some insurances that cover that, and they also provide, like, let's say, an active psychologist. So instead of paying for the insurance, the company allow you to just have a counselor that you can call at any time. But then, right now, for the mental health charges is a bit high for now, but for those who cannot afford for the insurance, you can consider the public hospitals. For instance, like we can have the Mathari. There we have counselors, and it's very affordable, by the way. So for those who can't afford the insurance, those who cannot benefit from the insurance covers, then maybe they can try the public hospitals. Yeah. Or again, I usually tell the young people, as you budget for that phone, because we are paying even for phones that are worth 100,000, mental health, if you get sick physically, you will go to a hospital, you know, but you can also budget for mental health. Like you will say, this month I'm willing to pay for 1,500 or 3,000 or even the 300 to the public hospitals so that I can access the mental health services. Yeah, so you shouldn't feel limited just because an insurance, you're not benefiting from these insurance covers.
But Shrika, shouldn't we have this insurance that covers for mental health issues? Why is it so high?
Well, most insurance companies actually do have a provision for mental health services. Again, there's also lack of knowledge because I've gone to corporates and they're asking me how much do we pay for a session at Chiromo Hospital. They're asking about how much if they come, how much cash will they pay. Then I ask them, what insurance are you people on, medical cover? And they tell me, and I tell them, but you can come and use your card. Yeah? And your card has probably a limit when it comes to inpatient, but most insurances do cover even for outpatient. Now, the sad part is for those who cannot afford it, because if you're not working in for a good corporation, then you will not have that insurance. But again, at the county hospitals nowadays, there's usually a sitting psychiatrist and a sitting psychologist. So again, knowledge, that information is what we need to now spread out there and tell people you do not necessarily have to have insurance to come to a medical, to a mental health facility. But you can go to one of these county hospitals and you still get the services yeah, at that level.
All right, another interesting remark that was made on Thursday is that workplaces are enablers of mental health issues. A reaction to that, Rika?
That's true, unfortunately, because there's so many things that happen within the work environment. So there could be issues of sometimes overload, too much work. There could also be the issue of role ambiguity. So I was taken in as a psychologist, but someone is actually telling me to do something in procurement. So I'm not really sure about what I'm supposed to be doing. And of course, there's then what is now a late term, one of the latest terms of incivility within the work environment. You know, bosses who are bullying you, they're being very impolite, they're using very uncouth language and they're addressing you. So all that now creates an environment where we call it a toxic work environment. So even the hours sometimes, you may work very crazy hours. I think we talked about, I heard somewhere where they're talking about you need to sleep next to your laptop because your boss is going to send an email anytime and you need to respond to that email, you know? And so this is where you talk to your employees and also tell them that it's important to create boundaries. It's important to be assertive and also stand up for yourself and look at what are my mental health rights. Because remember, if you push this employee in that kind of a toxic work environment, at the end of the day, their productivity is going to go down. And what I'm saying is, talk to the management about what that will do to their business because they also need to look at the margins. Yeah.
Sophie, workplaces being a breeding ground for mental health issues. Now, how do we get help?
One, let me first appreciate this program because most people are watching what we are doing today. So we are doing a good job in regards to this. But now in workplaces, I always say sometimes you really don't have to look at the employer. You have to be responsible of your mental well-being. Because today you will work for those excess hours. Tomorrow we don't have you. You know, it will be at your own cost, you know. So mental well-being, taking care of your mental well-being is your responsibility. And I think even employees need to embrace that. If you are in a toxic environment where probably communication is not even good because there are places where communication is very poor or where we've had harassments, bullying, I think it's upon you to choose. Do I really first, you first seek a professional help as an employee, because that is their responsibility. Yeah. Then number two, what we need to do is, you see, like we have organizations, and I think, is it this year where we have the national guidelines of mental well-being that was launched.
Yes.
Yeah, it was launched. What if this organization, and I'm sure most of organizations are not aware of this document, and it has very nice guidelines on how to incorporate mental well-being, the guidelines and policies in the organizations. What if we start there? What if the HR starts having the mental health champions in different departments? You know, so that if it's maybe we have the production team, they will know so and so probably is not okay. Even during meetings, they are able to have statistics. Our department has someone who is showing these symptoms. You know, like I'll give an example of where I work. There was a whole team that was picked just to be trained on basic counseling skills. You know, maybe that is something that organizations can pick. Like it can invest and budget. It can budget and invest on particular people from different departments just to make them mental health champions. I think with that, even the people that you are working with, you will be in a position to pick someone who is absent for work. Maybe it has become a constant thing. Or someone who is not able to, the appetite has changed, someone is losing weight, and being in that department is able to, that there's a problem with that person, you know. So I think we embrace the guideline, we can take the guideline, go through it, embrace what has been advised from that, from the national guidelines. Yeah, and I will also say, Trainings. Yes, trainings are very important.
All right, Rika,
Yeah.
due to the interest of time, your parting shot maybe, in line with this year's theme, why is it so important as we close, and what is your call to action?
We still belabor that line that is quite important for you to be mentally healthy. I almost said wealthy. I think it also applies at the work environment, right? Because remember, if you get mentally unwell, like she mentioned about stress, and stress build up will lead you to a point where you also become medically unwell. So you will find yourself at the medical facilities, not because you actually need medical help, but because you need to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist. So you need to also now understand those symptoms, and they can be actually very limiting. But I also did carry along these, we call them self-assessments. You see that you will assess yourself for your high blood pressure. We say you make use of these resources. These are resources that you can actually scan, and you'll be able to assess yourself for burnout. You'll be able to assess yourself for depression, for anxiety. For those who love alcohol, you'll be able to assess yourself for alcohol, and even for what we call post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, this is just the way you take the readings for the blood pressure. If the pressure is too high, you don't necessarily go to the doctor that particular day. You can say, maybe let me see how it will be tomorrow, and you take the reading again, and tomorrow it's probably okay. But if the pressure is consistently high, then what do? You need to go to hospital, isn't it?
Right.
So we have these resources. We can also embed them in websites, at the request of any client, and your employees can be able to just assess themselves for their mental health.
Right.
And then they can also always get in touch with a professional to help them, manage their mental health. So please, for those who may be out there struggling with poor mental health, it's important for you to get help, because a diagnosis is always better than living with something that is not known.
All right, thank you so much, ladies. We are past time. We have eaten 4 minutes of the time right here, but thank you so much for making time for this conversation. This is one conversation that cannot be overemphasized, that is mental health. I'm looking forward to hosting you some other time to have this conversation in broader length. Thank you so much for watching. That was Dr. Victoria Rika, Head of Corporate Mental Health and Wellness Programs at Chiromo Hospital Group, and Sophie Wambui, a clinical psychologist, helping us understand more about the importance of this year's World Mental Health Day theme. That is, it is time to prioritize mental wellness in the workplace. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Anne Odida. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Calvin Makori. Do have yourself a good night, and see you next time, inshallah.